Всім добрий вечір.
On behalf of the brave.
On behalf of every father and every mother.
Wings for freedom. On behalf of our warriors.
And paves the way for a new history.
Hello and welcome to Tochnyi Weekly, the show that gets behind the headlines to discuss the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We got a nice little broadcast for you today. First, I'll be presenting the news as always, and then we'll get our report from Mr. German Aid to Ukraine as we do. Then we'll open it up to some Q&A. So yeah, it should be pretty tight broadcast. Might have some other people stopping by. We'll see. Yeah, I think please do hit that like button down there. It really does help us out. So with that, I will now report the news. Here are the main headlines as of January 5th, 2025. On the evening of December 31st, Ukrainian Special Operations Forces, in collaboration with the country's drone units and other defense components, targeted Vartsevskaya oil depot in Russia's Smolensk region. This operation resulted in significant explosions and a fire at the site, producing heavy smoke and reportedly igniting fuel storage tanks. The Ukrainian military's general staff shared the details via social media, emphasizing the depot's strategic role in supplying the Russian military. Videos from the incident corroborate reports of the blaze, although specific information on the extent of the damage remains under review. On January 4th, a significant drone attack targeted Ust-Luga at Russia's largest seaport, located in the Leningrad region. Ust-Luga holds a critical position for Russia in its war efforts and its broader geopolitical strategy. The port has become an important logistics hub for bypassing Western sanctions, facilitating the export of key resources such as oil, gas, and coal. Revenues generated from these exports are reportedly used to fund military operations. Moreover, the port plays a significant role in militarizing the Baltic region and serves as a docking point for Russia's Shadow Fleet. Strategically located along the Baltic Sea, Ust-Luga allows Russia to maintain a naval presence in the region while ensuring the continued movement of military-related cargo. The port also functions as an alternative to European trade routes, which Russia can no longer access due to sanctions. It has become the primary gateway for exports to Asian markets, including China and India. On December 31st, 2024, Ukrainian Special Forces achieved a significant milestone in military operations by successfully destroying 2 Russian Mi-8 helicopters using advanced Magara V-5C drones armed with missile weaponry. The groundbreaking achievement, the first of its kind in military history, was reported by Ukraine's main intelligence agency. The operation took place in the Black Sea near the Crimean Peninsula, which remains under temporary Russian occupation. It was conducted by Group 13 of the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, and the attack resulted in the complete destruction of the 2 helicopters. Preliminary reports indicate that the crews aboard the aircraft were also neutralized. On the evening of January 1st, multiple airports across Russia experienced temporary flight suspensions following what Russia's Defense Ministry described as a coordinated attack by Ukrainian drones. The affected airports included those in Kaluga, Penza, Saransk, and Saratov, with restrictions implemented for security reasons. Russia's defense ministry claimed that air defense systems intercepted 19 drones during the attacks, which occurred between 5:30 p.m. and 8 p.m. Moscow time. The reported targets included Belgorod Oblast, Kursk Oblast, and Voronezh, Bryansk, and Rostov Oblasts. The Federal Air Transport Agency confirmed the temporary closure of the 4 airports, citing safety measures. Social media reports and Russian Telegram channels linked the flight restrictions directly to the drone attacks, although official sources have not provided any further details about damage or casualties. Ukraine's military intelligence successfully carried out a cyber attack on January 4th, targeting Region Transservice LLC, a critical service provider for Russian railways. The operation, coinciding with the birthday of Kyrylo Budanov, the head of Ukraine's main intelligence directorate, significantly disrupted the company's infrastructure, destroying 78 servers, 211 workstations, and their backup systems, according to reports from intelligence sources. Region Trans Service plays a crucial role in maintaining the life cycle of freight cars within Russia's railway network, including maintenance and disposal. Its involvement in transporting military cargo makes it a strategically important asset for the invasion. This strike follows a similar cyber operation conducted days earlier against Lukoil, a major player in Russia's oil industry, which is also linked directly to military supply chains. On December 28th, Italy's National Cybersecurity Agency, ACN, reported a series of DDoS cyber attacks targeting the nation's transportation and diplomatic infrastructure. The pro-Russian hacker group No Name 057 claimed responsibility for these incidents through their Telegram channel. The attacks coincided with Italy's announcement of extended military aid to Ukraine through 2025. Identifying themselves as activists aligned with Russian interests, the group has a history of collaborating with other ideologically driven hackers to disrupt European systems in protest of Western support for Ukraine. The attacks began at approximately 8 a.m. local time and temporarily disrupted the websites of key transportation hubs, including Milan Malpensa and Milan Linate airports, as well as Italy's Ministry of Foreign Affairs. While the websites were briefly inaccessible, ACN confirmed that flight operations and critical systems were not impacted. The Italian intelligence service stated that the attacks were limited to public websites and did not compromise flight control systems, airline operations, or customer applications. The French Ministry of Defense has refrained from commenting on the situation surrounding Ukraine's 155th Anna of Kyiv Separate Mechanized Brigade, which is reportedly facing personnel losses and equipment shortages. The Ukrainian State Bureau of Investigation has initiated an inquiry into the matter, according to reports by Suspilne. The brigade has been stationed in Donetsk Oblast, particularly near Kursk, which has been a key target for Russia's ground forces in recent months. Journalist Yuri Butusov shared details on Facebook revealing significant organizational issues with the brigade. He noted that of the 1,924 service members who underwent training in France in October, the majority had limited experience. Only 51 soldiers had served more than a year, 459 had less than a year of service, and 1,414 had under 2 months. Additionally, around 150 soldiers were sent to France for training without completing their basic training. The brigade's leadership, under the command of Dmytro Ryumshin, faced criticism when around 50 soldiers deserted during their time in France, attributed to poor management of personnel. This led to the dismissal of the commander and several other senior officers. The new leadership was unfamiliar with the brigade's unique challenges and further complicated the situation. Between September and November, the brigade was reinforced with around 4,000 new recruits, many of whom had not undergone screening, and their training concluded in November. In early December, prior to the brigade's combat operations, there were 198 instances of unauthorized absences, and personnel losses grew as operations began, attributed to poor organization and inadequate preparation. Butusov also stated that the brigade lacked essential equipment, including drones and electronic warfare systems, and had received faulty mortars. In response to the situation, the investigative agency confirmed that they will investigate the reports of abuse of power and desertion under Ukrainian criminal law, and that the investigation is currently ongoing. The French Ministry of Defense, in comments to Radio Svoboda, acknowledged that it trained and equipped a Ukrainian brigade of approximately 2,000 personnel for combined arms operations in the latter half of 2024. They clarified that the training was conducted using French equipment, which was meant for transfer to Ukraine, with soldiers returning to Ukraine with the equipment. However, the ministry declined to comment on the specifics of the investigation, noting that the Ukrainian armed forces were responsible for selecting personnel and managing how they're deployed. Up next, we have economy and aid. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has announced a $3.4 billion aid package in direct budgetary support to Ukraine. Yellen emphasized that the latest budgetary support is vital for Ukraine's ability to maintain critical services and continue its defense efforts. The aid package is coordinated with USAID and the State Department and marks the final allocation under the bipartisan Ukraine Security Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2024. Yellen stressed that U.S. economic aid is not only key to Ukraine's resistance, but also critical for achieving a just peace. The Treasury Department clarified that the support comes with conditions aimed at strengthening Ukraine's governance. These include reforms to enhance transparency, improve law enforcement, and reinforce anti-corruption measures, ensuring that funds are utilized efficiently and effectively. Ukraine has unveiled a new drone-based counter-drone system called Winchester, featuring twin shotguns designed to intercept enemy drones. The system expands Ukraine's existing counter-drone capabilities, which includes FPV drone interceptors and specialized drone-deployed nets for use in capturing adversarial drones. The Winchester system's use of shotgun armament introduces a novel approach to drone interception. The dual shotguns fire pellet rounds with a spread pattern, enhancing the likelihood of hitting fast-moving drone targets. While shotgun pellets lack the stopping power of rifle rounds, the configuration is particularly effective for counter-drone operations, as drones are often lightweight and susceptible to minimal damage. Engineers at Medinvest, Ukraine's largest steel producer, have developed specialized armored protection for the control module of the Patriot air defense system. The company announced this on January 3rd and stated that the newly developed armor, crafted from Ukrainian steel, is designed to safeguard both the system's control module and its operators. Alexander Mironenko, Medinvest Group's COO, explained that the project was completed within 6 weeks and features a shield made of armor steel plates up to 8 millimeters thick. The entire structure weighs around 2.6 tons and comprises around 200 components, ensuring robust protection without compromising the system's mobility or operational effectiveness. Medinvest has produced steel armor for various tanks, including the T-64, T-72, the U.S.-made M1 Abrams, and the Bradley infantry fighting vehicles. Preparations are also underway to integrate shields into the Leopard 2 tank variants. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has signed into law a bill granting exemption from military conscription to citizens who have lost close relatives or have relatives missing as a result of the war. The legislation is identified as Bill number 12104 and aims to provide legal clarity on deferrals during the ongoing war. The law introduces amendments to Article 23 of Ukraine's legislation on mobilization, preparation, and execution. It specifies that both men and women whose close relatives have died or gone missing are exempt from being conscripted in the special mobilization period. Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin has approved a decree prohibiting prisoners who enlist in the military under contracts with the Defense Ministry from receiving one-time enlistment bonuses. According to the directive, individuals serving prison sentences at the time of the signing of their military contracts will no longer qualify for these monetary payments. The policy came into effect on January 1st. Previously, President Vladimir Putin authorized one-time payments for those enlisting with the Defense Ministry in November 2022. In July 2024, the payment amount was raised to 400,000 rubles, which is approximately $3,500 US, to incentivize recruitment efforts during the war. However, the new decree specifically excludes incarcerated individuals from accessing the benefit. A Russian court has mandated that Yandex, the country's leading technology company, remove public access to maps and images of a specific oil refinery. The ruling stems from concerns about the visibility of strategically important defense facilities during wartime, as reported by the Russian news agency TASS based on court documents. While the refinery's name remains undisclosed, it has reportedly been targeted by drones 4 times in 2024, resulting in infrastructure damage and injuries to workers. The facility is described as operating continuously to meet the demands of Russia's army and navy. The court ordered Yandex to obscure or remove visual data related to the refinery, including workshops, compressor stations, tank sites, and other key components from its mapping services within 1 month. The company was also charged with a state duty as part of the decision. The legal action follows an inspection by a supervisory agency that revealed sensitive information about the refinery was publicly accessible through Yandex's services. The agency argued that this exposure compromised the defense capabilities of the state and posed risk to the timely supply of critical resources to the Russian military. During the court proceedings, Yandex contested the claims, but the court ultimately sided with the agency. It concluded that leaving such information accessible could jeopardize national security and the safety of employees at the facility. This marks the first time a Russian multinational technology company has been legally compelled to remove publicly available information about a defense-related facility in Russia. The ruling is not yet final and may be appealed to a higher court. Oil production and refining in Russia have dropped to their lowest levels in over a decade, driven by disruptions from Ukrainian attacks, unscheduled maintenance, and government policies. By the end of 2024, oil refining at Russian facilities is projected to reach 266.9 million tons, marking a 12-year low. Meanwhile, daily crude oil production has fallen to 1,254,000 tons, a level not seen since 2005. The new figures were reported by the Moscow Times from the analytical service Ciala. In Tuapse, there was a 60% drop in output, and in Novoshakhtinsk, there was a 31% drop in output. Despite these setbacks, some refineries, such as those in Omsk, Akchinsk, and Bashkira, have increased their utilization rates to offset production losses. However, so far these efforts have not fully mitigated the broader downturn. The Russian government has sought to regulate fuel prices for households, which has reduced margins for oil companies and has limited their ability to offset their rising costs. Even so, retail gasoline prices jumped by 11% in 2024, the sharpest increase in 13 years, reaching 60 rubles per liter. This marked a significant departure from prior years where price hikes were closer to or below inflation levels. The rise is attributed to oil companies attempting to pass repair and operational costs onto consumers, despite government intervention to the contrary. Russia's crude oil and gas condensate production has also hit a 13-year low, averaging 1,428,000 tons per day, the lowest rate since 2011. The production challenges are also a result of ongoing sanctions from the EU, US, and UK, which aim to limit Russia's energy revenues. Oil from 2 aging Russian tankers damaged in a storm has reached the shores of Sevastopol in annexed Crimea, according to local authorities. The incident, which President Vladimir Putin called an ecological disaster, involved the Volga-Neft 212 and the Volga-Neft 239 tankers, which were struck by a storm on December 15th in the Kerch Strait. The vessels were carrying 9,200 tons of heavy fuel oil, with an estimated 40% spilling into the sea. Sevastopol's Russian-appointed governor, Mikhail Razvozhayev, reported that a small oil slick had reached the area, describing it as approximately 1.5 meters in width and length. He also shared footage of the thick oil floating near the shore. The oil involved, M100 grade mazout, represents significant cleanup challenges due to its significant density, which causes it to sink below the water's surface. The Russian Transportation Ministry stated that no proven technology exists globally for effectively removing this type of oil from the water column. Cleanup efforts are currently focused on recovering the oil that has washed ashore. Volunteers have been playing a crucial role as official responses have been criticized for their limitations. To date, 78,000 tons of contaminated sand and soil have been removed from the beaches in Crimea and southern Russia. The Russian Emergency Situations Ministry estimates that total cleanup requirements could reach 200,000 tons. In the Russian-occupied areas of Ukraine's Luhansk region, access to the internet for the local population is being increasingly restricted by occupying forces. Artem Lizahor, the head of the Luhansk Regional Military Administration, reported the developments via Telegram. Lizahor highlighted that the residents in the Severodonetsk area were previously cut off from direct internet access. To go online, they were forced to travel to nearby settlements along the motorway to Luhansk. Their public spaces, like stores, offered limited internet access, where residents could purchase Wi-Fi passwords to connect and contact relatives. Recent reports indicate that Russian security forces have begun issuing warnings to operators of these establishments. Lizahor warned that further restrictions are expected, including the complete disconnection of internet services in the area. This follows earlier actions by the occupiers in the Severodonetsk area, where mobile signals are being actively jammed even in remote locations. These measures appear to be part of a broader strategy by the occupying forces to control communication and limit access to information for residents in the temporarily occupied Luhansk region. Up next is foreign relations. Starting January 1st, Azerbaijan is imposing new restrictions on the duration of Russian citizens' stay in the country without a visa, limiting their stay to 90 days per calendar year. The decision mirrors recent changes in Russia, which reduced the permissible stay for foreign nationals in the same time frame. Azerbaijan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs emphasized that the decision was made on the principle of reciprocity. This decision comes amid heightened tensions between Azerbaijan and Russia following the downing of an Azerbaijan Airlines plane, which I reported on last week on September 25th, which crash-landed in Kazakhstan, killing 38 of the 67 people on board. The incident has sparked a diplomatic rift, with Azerbaijan accusing Russia of firing an air defense missile at the plane as it approached Grozny airport. Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev has demanded accountability and compensation from Moscow, alleging that Russia has tried to obscure the cause of the crash by offering conflicting explanations. While the Russian president expressed regret over the incident in a phone call with Aliyev, he stopped short of admitting responsibility. The Russian Investigative Committee has opened a criminal inquiry, and Kazakhstan, where the crash occurred, announced that the black box would be sent to Brazil for a neutral analysis. The decision to involve Brazil, where the aircraft was manufactured, aligns with Azerbaijan's call for a transparent investigation and complies with international aviation protocols. The crash also prompted additional scrutiny of Russian aviation safety and strained relations with its partners. Airlines, including Israel's El Al, have temporarily suspended flights to Moscow over safety concerns. The incident has also intensified criticism of Russia's air defense systems and operational protocols, with Azerbaijan accusing Moscow of attempting to cover up the missile strike. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has reviewed a report from Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha and Agriculture Minister Vitaly Koval concerning their recent visit to Damascus. The discussions focused on security, economic collaboration, and humanitarian initiatives aimed at stabilizing Syria. Zelensky emphasized Ukraine's commitment to supporting efforts that contribute to stability in the Middle East, which he believes will foster greater peace and trade opportunities for all involved. One key outcome of the talks is the establishment of the Grain from Ukraine program. The initiative aims to enhance cooperation with Syrian authorities and international partners, including European nations and the United States, to provide humanitarian aid and strengthen logistics for grain supplies. The program will operate in conjunction with the UN World Food Program, which recently facilitated the shipment of 500 tons of Ukrainian wheat flour to Syria. During the December 30th visit, Foreign Minister Sybiha met with Syria's de facto leader, Ahmed al-Sara, and the newly appointed Foreign Minister, Assad Hassan al-Shaibani, to discuss trade, logistics, and humanitarian efforts. Slovakia's state electricity grid operator SEPS has confirmed that it will maintain electricity exports to Ukraine despite recent threats from Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico to cut supplies. SEPS assured the Czech news agency CTK on January 3rd that it remains committed to honoring its contracts with Ukrenergo, Ukraine's state electricity transmission operator. The issue arose as a result of Kyiv's decision to cease the transit of Russian gas to Slovakia as of January 1, 2025, as part of broader efforts to reduce reliance on Russian energy infrastructure. Prime Minister Fico has expressed dissatisfaction with the decision, warning of potential retaliatory measures, including cutting backup electricity supplies to Ukraine. Fico has also raised the matter with European Council President Antonio Costa and the European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, criticizing Ukraine's refusal to continue gas transit beyond 2024. Despite these political disagreements, SEPS has reiterated its commitment to fulfilling its obligations under existing agreements, ensuring that electricity will flow to Ukraine and won't be interrupted. Polish farmers staged a protest in Warsaw on January 3rd, opposing agricultural imports from Ukraine and EU policies which they believe are endangering their livelihoods. Organized under the banner of 5 times Stop, the demonstration targeted several issues, including Ukrainian imports, the EU's trade deal with the Mercosur bloc, which is, I think, in South America, the Green Deal, forest and hunting policies, and the perceived economic decline in Poland. The event coincided with the inauguration of Poland's presidency of the Council of the EU, which amplified the protesters' demands. The demonstration began in front of the European Commission Representation Building in Warsaw at 2 p.m. local time, followed by a march through the city. The protest was organized by various agricultural groups and was scheduled to conclude at 11 p.m. Tomasz Obzanski, chairman of the independent farmers' trade union Solidarność, criticized EU policies for undermining Polish agriculture and claimed these measures could force the closure of many local farms. The Polish government has already in the past implemented bans on specific Ukrainian products like grain, citing the detrimental effects on domestic agriculture. While the government has expressed support for farmers' grievances, it is also balancing these concerns with the need to support Ukraine amidst the ongoing invasion. Also, Poland has excluded Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Hungary's ambassador from the opening event of its EU Council presidency on January 3rd. The decision follows Budapest's controversial move to grant political asylum to former Polish Deputy Justice Minister Marcin Romanowski, who is under investigation in Poland for alleged misuse of funds. Polish Deputy European Affairs Minister Magdalena Sobkowiak confirmed the exclusion, citing Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski's decision to withdraw the ambassador's invitation. Poland began its 6-month rotating presidency of the EU Council on January 1st and has prioritized security and pledged unwavering support for Ukraine during its term. Tusk's government has taken a decidedly pro-EU stance, in sharp contrast to Hungary's more isolationist policies. The Russian Federal Security Service has accused U.S. citizen Gene Spector of espionage, alleging that he provided biotechnological and biomedical information to the Pentagon to aid in developing a, quote, genetic screening system to target the Russian population specifically. The FSB claims that Spector acted on behalf of the Pentagon and a related commercial entity, gathering and transferring sensitive data, including classified state secrets. These accusations were detailed in an FSB statement quoted by Interfax. The case against Spector, which had not been publicly disclosed until recently, was tried in secret. Spector, a Russian-born former chairman of the Medpolymerprom Group, was first arrested in February 2020 for mediating a bribe involving Anastasia Alexeyeva, an aide to former Deputy Prime Minister Arkady Dvorkovich. He received a sentence of 3.5 years in prison and a fine of approximately $135 in September of 2022. In August 2023, while still incarcerated, Spector faced new charges of espionage. On December 24, 2024, the Moscow court convicted him and handed down a 15-year sentence in a high-security prison. The charges appear to be so dumb that no U.S. agency has responded with a comment. And the final item for this week, Russia and Ukraine have conducted a significant prisoner exchange, with at least 150 individuals from each side returning home for New Year's celebrations. The swap was partially mediated by the United Arab Emirates and marked the 11th exchange between the two nations this year. President Zelensky announced that 189 Ukrainians were brought back, including 87 army personnel, 43 members of the National Guard, 33 border guards, 24 Navy members, and 2 civilians. Among them, 14 were officers. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that 150 people from each side were exchanged, leaving an unexplained discrepancy in the reported numbers. Those sent back to Russia were prisoners captured during Ukraine's Kursk offensive, which began in late summer and led to Kyiv holding Russian territory. The offensive is aimed to secure leverage for potential negotiations and to also capture prisoners for future swaps. Many of the Ukrainians returned had been in captivity since the early days of the war. This exchange brings the total number of Ukrainian prisoners returned by Russia in 2024 to 1,358. However, many Ukrainians still remain in custody. Zelensky reiterated the commitment to freeing all captives and emphasized that no one would be forgotten. Accounts from returning Ukrainian prisoners detail harrowing experiences in captivity, including physical abuse, psychological intimidation, malnourishment, and medical neglect. Some have returned with severe injuries that required amputation. Reports of forced singing of the Russian national anthem and recitation of Russian poetry are part of a psychological torment faced by captives. And that's it for my news report this week. We will now move to the next segment. So I think we had a couple more things we wanted to cover real quick. The first one was there was a news report coming out, a few news reports coming out about potential offensive, new offensive by Ukrainian forces in Kursk. As far as I know, I'm definitely the last person to tell you about specifics, but my understanding is we asked the GeoInt people if there's any validity to those rumors or to those stories, and they were basically saying yes, it's legitimate. There's real stuff on the ground happening that indicates that's the case. So new Kursk offensive by Ukraine appears to be happening, but we don't have any specifics yet, and we'll definitely let you guys know if we find anything out. And then the other story, which I'll let my colleague here comment on, and then we'll jump to his report. I mentioned that a new armor was made by a metal company in Ukraine to protect the Patriot system. We just wanted to mention that all the images, all of the news stories said that it was to cover the Patriot system, but all of the images used by every separate news organization was of an Iris-T system having armor. So, we don't know why that's the case. All we know is that that's what happened, right? They showed an image of an Iris-T and they said Patriot. We couldn't, if you asked me to speculate why, maybe they don't want to show or don't have an image of the Patriot system, and that was the closest thing they had. But we just wanted to mention that because I think it was a bit confusing for some people. Mr. Germanet, do you have any comment on these two stories?
First of all, sorry for the hot mic. Normally, our streaming platform mutes one automatically when the video is playing. Apparently, that's no longer the case. Didn't know. Sorry. And regarding the IRIS-T SLM, so the press releases of both the initiative and the company who does the armor both said that it's about Patriot, and they provided one video and two images, and all of them are of this armor on an IRIS-T SLM TOC. And so, yeah, I inquired with the company who produces this on the day the videos and the images came out, asked them if it's maybe a mistake, if they done it for both. I probably won't get an answer, but maybe I will, and then we have certainly. And yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe they just confused IRIS-T and Patriot. Who knows? Who knows, right?
Yeah, I would guess it seems like the Patriot thing is accurate and that the image is probably kind of some kind of red herring, but I don't know. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, in the press release of the company, I mean, I can link it if someone is interested. In the press release of the company, they say they have it on one system already operational and on one Patriot system, and that's the one they linked, that they showed the images and videos from. But it's not a Patriot, it's IRIS-T. That's the confusing part about it, because when they wouldn't have included this, we have it on one particular system already running, then it would be fine, because then you can guess like, okay, it's for both, it's for Patriot and IRIS-T. But yeah, maybe they're just confused, who knows. And hi Colby, thanks for tuning in.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, just before I start my segment, I just want to point out that now, even that Colby is here, which is great, that you maybe should get ready for the questions for the Q&A. So if anyone from our audience has some questions for us, please leave them already, because after that there's no segment planned. So when there are no questions, we would end the stream. Yeah, going to my segment. As always, I will now present this week's most important news from Germany regarding Ukraine in a very short segment. We start with a donation by the German Federal Civil Protection Organization, THW, which was made public on Monday. The THW has donated 4 Iveco technical vehicles worth over 300,000 euros to the Donetsk regional state administration. The vehicles will be used for road maintenance and to improve the capacity of the Donetsk Oblast rescue service. On Wednesday, it was reported that the German state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern will help the Chernihiv Oblast with the construction of shelters in 5 educational institutions. If I recall correctly, it was 2 kindergartens and 3 schools. 250,000 euros have been made available for this purpose. Furthermore, around 20,000 euros will be provided also by the German state of Mecklenburg-Vorpommern to improve the storage and digitalization of 100 paintings from the 16th to 20th of centuries from the Nizhyn Mykola Gogol University. What a name, in the Chernihiv Oblast. On Thursday, the German city of Singen has reported that they have donated a fully equipped ambulance to their Ukrainian twin city of Kobylyaki. The 7-year-old Mercedes-Benz Sprinter is in good condition and is equipped with a ventilator and a stretcher, among other things. So basically fully equipped. And last but not least, Sweden is providing 300 million Swedish krona as part of the German IIAD initiative, so the German Immediate Action on Air Defense initiative, which aims to strengthen Ukraine's air defense in the short term. The funds will go to Romania, which will be compensated for the donation of a MIM-104 Patriot fire unit that they have delivered last year. And yeah, that's my segment. Back to you, Joseph.
Thank you, sir.